first, but okay, hold on a second. Hey guys, what's crack-a-lacking? Hope everybody's good. Sorry about the no sound on that intro. I had it muted for some stupid reason. But it is what it is, right? Well, guys, I got a guest here tonight. Trinity's here. Let's see if I can't unmute you before you say something. Most of you guys are probably going to know Trinity, red pill, or blue pill. Hi-ho, Kermit the Frog. Let's go ahead and unmute you. Say something there, girl. Let's see what you got.
Hello everybody in Wages World, and thanks for having me on here, Mark.
Yeah, you're welcome. Can somebody give me a 5 for 5? Make sure both of our audio's coming through. I haven't done this in quite some time, so if you could, somebody let me know, and then we'll get moving, because I ain't gonna sit here and kind of waste time with that. Hey, Miss B, what's up? I'll say hi to everybody while we're doing that. Hey, Butterfly, Menacing, Trish, good to see you. Good to see you. Mary, what's happening? Thought, what's up? Mr. C, okay. We got you can hear both? Okay. If you guys hear any audio, especially my mods, guys, can you please just like tag me or something, or even Trinity, she can let me know or whatever. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and roll with it. Okay, so what you guys are looking at there, that is Trinity's page. But how are you, first off?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I am living large. Don't want to be in charge, so I'm not that. But anyway, is there any way you can give them guys a little bit of a rundown about what your channel's about?
I started 5 years ago, and really just was into the I knew that the cognitive dissonance was very serious, and that the misinformation with the disinformation mixed in with information was going to get crazy, but I had no idea how crazy it's going to get. But I love to do lots of deep dives and what I call rabbit holes on anything from technology to tinfoil hat to just being a free thinker. And my basis is just definitely try to be a good human, be kind to one another, and love nature, and be entertaining, and just try to have fun through all the craziness, to be supportive of one another as we, all try to learn. And the more that I learn, the more I know nothing.
Well, I can tell you right now, you're a kind soul. You always have been. And guys, I mean, you guys really need to get over and check out our content. You really should. It's good stuff, especially if you guys like doing the deep dives, like she said, on not so like mainstream topics and stuff. I mean, she does some really good work. She takes a lot of time. She does it right. And believe it or not, how many subs you got right now, Trinity? You got what, 6,000 something?
Yeah, I took a back seat with my cancer diagnosis, and then my parents, before my father passed away and everything, and I was caretaker. So between just, fighting through that, and taking care of family, and being everything, and family is always first, as you know. And then just powering through and getting my arms back to do everything, because when you have the surgeries that I had to have, I had no idea, but it makes sense that you can't really use your arms because of the surgeries I had with the mastectomy and everything, and repair work. So it's something, it's very humbling, and I've grown to learn so much during this time. And every day is truly, I know it sounds cliche, but truly a gift. And we're lucky to get 100 years to evolve while we're here. So that's why I think I had to take a back seat there for a while. My channel really took a back seat. And now I'm trying to do more podcasts, more live streaming. I still love to put together, crazy videos that are, my way of learning how to do that. It's been all self-taught, so it's been interesting. But that's where I'm at with this, and I'm so grateful for every single one of the people that have supported me, and your support. I don't think of just as subs. They're family and friends to me, and I can't thank everybody enough for sticking by my side and staying subscribed to me and giving me the chance to try and do better and learn and not give up on me. So I can't thank everybody
Yeah, we ain't gonna let you give up. That's for sure. You're
enough.
too important to this community. I mean, you're a foundation. I mean, whether you want to say that or not, you are a foundation block to this community. We've
Thank you.
you know, whether or not we're all talking about the same subjects, I think if we all talked about the same subjects, life would be pretty boring. Um,
Absolutely. And I love what you do on your channel. I am so interested in the sun. In fact, that was the first thing that really got me going with the observatories. And when Sunspot shut down, and then the more I'm learning about CMEs and coronal mass ejections and the magnetosphere and neutrinos is something I love to talk about is the neutrinos, the deep underground neutrino experiments and things like that. I am so interested, and you make it look easy. I know what you do is not easy, and I love what you share because it does affect our health, our mental and physical health. So I am so grateful for your channel and what you do.
well, thank you. I really appreciate that. That's you know, and you know, I might I've never been told I made it look easy, so thank you for that. But yeah, I tell you, let me tell you guys, Trinity's been on my channel since the beginning of it, pretty much, and she's been, you know, she's watched me and how I've evolved in my channel, and it it is not something that just gets, you know, burned in your brain in like 3 seconds. I make mistakes constantly, and but the difference is this, and I know Trinity's the same way, and everybody we surround ourselves this way, we will not absolutely ignore that, and you know, not come out and say, hey, we made a mistake. I just think our integrity is just completely obliterated when that stuff happens. People do that all the time, and they think that they're helping themselves, and they're hurting themselves, and they just ignore a mistake because your credibility gets just shot to whatever. Um,
Yeah.
it's one thing to like not just like forget to mention the small thing, but if you come out and make some big grand claim and it's wrong, you you might want to come back on and say, hey guys, I was wrong on that. And I've learned,
Mhm.
like when I'm talking about like solar flares hitting, CMEs hitting, I quit saying, hey, it's going to be this and stopping, right? Because
Mhm.
that's, in my opinion, it's irresponsible because I've been wrong so many times when I did that. And it ain't about me feeling bad when I'm being wrong. It's more about me getting it right. So I just want to make sure everybody has the correct information. And
Well, that's
and
the human condition. The human condition, it's something we shouldn't be afraid of you know, is going out and learning. That's the indigenous tribes. They'd say, go out and let me make 20 mistakes a day because that action by going out and making those mistakes, they learned more from that than doing nothing. And so, yeah, and then just to say, hey, we did screw up and not be afraid of that. That's really humbling and it's extremely important.
yeah, I mean, and that's yeah, it really is. Let me stop here just for 1 second. Menacing, yeah, Menacing has been here since the beginning. If you
Mm.
guys don't know, I started my channel with a broken cell phone. Um, that's
That's
really how
awesome.
I did things. It was crazy. It's crazy how that all works out in the end, and you never expect it to do what it does. And I will say this
Mhm.
too: you don't get to where, and I don't consider myself a really big channel. Yeah, I would consider it kind of a normal thing, I guess. I don't know where I would put myself in that. I never really thought about it, but you don't get that many subscribers without help. If you
Oh,
just start out from the bottom and you just think you can just, it would take you 20 years to get,
yeah.
it truly would, unless you really
Hmm.
caught something just out of pure luck. And there are those channels out there that really catch
Hmm.
something right at the right time and they just take off. But it's been really cool to watch your channel grow because I consider your channel growth healthy growth because the fact
Thank you.
what you don't see, what most of the subscribers and stuff won't see, is the fluctuation in our sub count.
Yeah.
I would almost bet if you went back, and I'm sure you've probably done this. Obviously haven't done it to your channel. I do it to mine, but you can go back and look at your history on your subscribers. Yours will
Hmm.
probably steadily just kind of slowly moved up. You would have a boost when somebody would shout you out, or something you went on somebody's show or whatever. But then it
Hmm.
stays there, and then it just continues to plateau up. And what I'm saying is, the people that see the opposite of that, they have to know, and it's, you got to make changes when that happens. And
Hmm.
I hate to say that, because frankly, what we do here is not just for information, but it's for entertainment. And for me, it's more about connecting with everybody and understanding how people are feeling. And people want.
Absolutely.
I had somebody ask me, how do you gauge your success? Well, I gauge my success by the people that are around me's success. And what I mean by
Mm.
that is I'm the best version of myself when I'm helping somebody else be the best version of what they're trying to do. And
Yes,
and
absolutely.
it's not like that for everybody, right? I mean, there's people out there that need to be the face, and they need to concentrate on just that. For me and what I do, yeah. But I also want to point out that sometimes you have to refocus back on yourself in order to be able to help more people. And that's
That's a very tough balance. And I'm like you. I'd rather be the person, and my family can, they probably, if they hear this right now, they'd be laughing because I'm the one that's hiding behind and always trying to, I like to push everybody up just like you. It's crazy you say that. And it is really hard to like focus on yourself, but yet you have to if you want to, because I do want to help others. That's all I want to do is give back too. So yeah, but gosh, you've worked hard to be where you're at. So please, give yourself a pat on the back. It's amazing what you've done.
every time I try to take credit, not really try it, but every time I mention, hey, I feel good about what I did here. Every time I say that, I also think in the back of my mind, if I don't just go ahead and say it, there's usually somebody there to help me do it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
We
guess,
never forget those. That's for sure. Like I won't forget this. Yeah.
yeah, I
And
mean, and
the others have helped me. So yeah,
I think it's like a
definitely.
circle. It's kind of just comes
Hmm.
back around to you, and we'll call it karma, whatever you want to call it. But and I said this so many times, if it wasn't for Marfugal, um,
Yeah.
I don't know that hardly any of the channels in our community would have ever taken off. I don't. I
And
can't.
yeah, and some of the channels that did lift me up are no longer here, which is crazy.
That's nuts, isn't
But
it?
then other ones that I never expected a shout out from surprised me. So yeah, I am just always in awe of that.
It
Absolutely.
Well, and I think that what happens is, and I think the reason why you see that continual growth and it's good, healthy growth is the fact that you are doing it the right way. And the people that, I'm not going to try to step up the ladder to break somebody's neck on the way up. I'm not
No
doing that. I'm
way.
not trying to get there as fast as I can. And, yes, I have goals just like everybody else. And yes, the subscriber count, it matters. I don't care what anybody says. That matters.
Well,
That's a number we can look at to validate that our channel is doing something. And it's not about the actual person that hit the like. It's just about the number when I'm looking at that. But I care more about the person that actually did hit that button. And
yeah.
that's kind of what I'm saying. And I say that because I think you're the same way. And
I'm curious though. I'm just curious. What is going on with our son? You said how many are coming our way right now?
um well, we got like 12 of them, 12
12.
solar flares. So let me
Oh
just
my
go ahead and jump
gosh.
into that. Yeah, I know I kind of
Yeah.
got on a little
No, no,
sidetrack
I'm
there.
just really curious
No,
too.
it's curious. It's cool.
Lots going
No,
on.
we can do this. Not a big deal at all. I want to do this. This is what I probably should have done in the beginning anyway. Anyway, so guys, if you guys can see this, that's the solar X-ray flux. This is the data that we look at to see what kind of flaring we're seeing. And again, it's a boring graph, right? I mean, we all look at this and they're like, oh my gosh, am I in math class again or what? Um, but this is what we have to look at to see how strong a solar flare is, and that's measured by X-ray. And when you see the M-class flares, you see what's right after M, it's X. Now, I know we all hear about the dreaded X flare, right? Dreaded X flare, oh God, X flare. Well, for grid down, it's going to take X flare off of this chart times 3. That's pretty much why I talk about what I talk about. Now, I will say this. If we had like 2 or 3 X flares back to back to back, and we got hit with all 3 of them right on, right on the nose, right on the chin, then yeah, we could see some really bad stuff with that. But I try not to, kind of go down that road with that. But the fact of the matter is, guys, this can give us issues, and it will give us issues eventually. Whether I'm going to see it, whether we're going to see it, I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. But what I can say is that I can show you what's actually going on. And I started doing what I call nowcasting, and I kind of got that from Ryan Hall. Instead of trying to tell people, 3 months down the road what's going to happen, I try to just report what is happening within 5 or 6 hours of when it does. So that's kind of why I do what I do. But if you see all these flares, look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, so I mean like a dozen of them in just a little under 2 days. That is ridiculous. When I say that's a lot, guys. That is not something that is, yeah. But we also have other stuff going on, and we got these coronal holes. These coronal holes here, guys, are going to be coming in right after the solar flares. And what that is, guys, that's the surface of the sun. It's dark for a reason, because the way that this picks it up, that's actually kind of, it tells you it's colder. And that's an interesting fact that I tell almost every live stream, that the surface of the sun is actually colder than the atmosphere. And that's, some people don't, can't really understand that. And believe it or not, a lot of the scientists couldn't understand it either. So they sent a satellite out there, Parker SP probe, and it's the one that was supposed to kiss the sun. And I'm sure you probably remember that, don't you, Trinity?
Yes.
Yes? Okay.
I'm just listening. Yeah, I'm listening to
No,
everything you have to say right now.
I just want to make sure that if you remember, I'm genuinely curious, because some people forget about that. And that's what they did. They sent it out there, and it got into the atmosphere of the sun. It was the first time they'd done that. And they were able to get some really good data off of that. And they've got some pretty decent ideas. I'm not going to get into those ideas because they are fairly complicated, and they do take a lot of explanation on why things are doing.
Yeah, they did that right about the time the Sunspot Observatory closed. They did this. This is crazy.
Yeah. You're right. And that's, yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So, but they found some stuff in there, like it was bouncing up and down and all over the place. Heat. They called it like a bounce back. Some name that I'm going to butcher if I try to say it, so I'm not going to say it. But the fact of the matter is, the surface of the sun is actually colder than the atmosphere, called the corona. And when we get a coronal hole, it means the atmosphere opens up and it exposes the surface of the sun. So what happens is parts of the sun just spew out. And when I say the sun, we have to remember it's not a rock like we are. It's a big old ball of plasma. And, of course, they really don't even know what it's actually made of in the middle, in the core.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know. They can only theorize, because obviously you can't go there and get it. But it definitely is, it's definitely something that they are trying to figure out. And they got some pretty good ideas, I would tend to think. I've seen some of them. But as this plasma spews out, it's the fourth state of matter. Most people stop at, solid, liquid, gas. That's what we kind of learned in school. Well, I think why I was in school, they added plasma to that. It wasn't always there. And plasma is a charged gas, which means it has a magnetic polarity. Sorry, I had to take a drink there. My mouth was getting dry. But, and with that being said, thank you, Aliyah. Appreciate you, girl. You're awesome.
Aliyah, that's so cute. I love that sticker. It's so cute. Yes, thank you, Aliyah.
That's awesome.
That's so cute. It's so cute.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But anyway, so how's it get here? I get that question a lot too. We're actually connected to the sun magnetically. And I say this, and I actually say it to be kind of funny. If you were out in the middle of space, butt naked, your butt cheek would be connected to the sun magnetically. You really would. I mean, that's just what happens. So,
Yeah.
you know, and you guys oftentimes hear me talk about magnetic polarity, how much that matters, because it does. That is one of the biggest drivers of what actually happens. So when the plasma leaves the sun, it travels here on those lines. It's not just one line either. I don't want people thinking it's like a string. It's a bunch of lines. You could kind of think of it like electricity if you really wanted to. It's kind of electrons jumping from one to the other. Well, this is this positive going to negative and negative going to positive, and it travels down the line. So, and that's how it gets here. So when these open up and you get more of them, and if the polarity's right, it will speed up. The speed increases, the density increases, and then it hits our magnetic field. And when it hits our magnetic field, what's it do? Well, that's when we start talking about geomagnetic storms. And that's exactly what can happen. And that's why we talk about mainly three things when we're talking about this. We talk about solar flares, and we talk about CMEs. And then we talk about coronal holes. Those are usually the three things there that influence our space weather, can have the most effect upon us. And you said something earlier about how it can affect your health, and it definitely does. Guys, I would highly encourage you to go research that. There is so much research on that now. It's just not even questioned. You have complete cardiologist departments. They look at space weather before they do heart surgery sometimes. And then this is why. Because it can affect that. My grandpa had a pacemaker, and they told him he couldn't even get around a microwave. Now, of course, they've got better stuff now, which doesn't really affect all that. But that is the same thing, guys. It's the same thing when that stuff hits us. So that's how it affects your body, and it can affect your mood. It affects the human resonance, and that's, the vibration, the heartbeat of the earth. And, we've all talked about that quite a bit here. And I know Trinity's talked about that a lot too. It's a big driver of everything, especially your mental capacities and what's going on in your head, how you're feeling mentally. They called it space sickness back in the day. And, it's the resonance that bounces between the surface of the earth and our ionosphere. And it can vary greatly depending on where you're at on the planet. Your local weather affects the human resonance. And that's why, when I show you guys the resonance tool, actually I can show it to you real quick. We'll just pull it up here real quick while we're talking about this. What you're going to see here, well, looks like it's down.
Oh, of course. It's been doing some crazy things too.
Yeah, it looks, I think I got another site here. Hold on a second.
Okay.
Let me bring up another one here. Human resonance vol 2. See where it gets us here. This may get us there, man. Yeah, this is Disclosure News, guys. Go check them out. They do report on the human resonance constantly over there. That's what they do. So, there it is. See if I can't. So that's what you're looking at. Okay. Now I know it looks like another graph, right? Well, you got to kind of look at this one upside down. So when this thing is spiking, it's actually spiking from up here down. And remember, this is in Tomsk, Russia. So it's hard, unless there's a global event going on, such as a CME, it's hard to point to this and say, hey, this is what's causing our issues, unless that global issue is actually happening. Because if this is over in Russia, how's it going to affect me over here? Because I know the human resonance isn't going to stay the same. Because I can.
Didn't they measure at the pyramids? This is where they started learning about it. They started noticing this there.
Yeah,
mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I mean, and what I'm saying is, guys, the human resonance is probably the most powerful thing that we can actually talk about, because it affects so many things. And there was a doctor called Dr. Robphhktfh, and I'm sure you probably know about Dr. Robphhktfh, don't you, Trinity? You might.
Go ahead and tell me some more. Go ahead. I'm listening. I have terrible names.
He's the guy back in, I think it was the 20s or 30s, that was using radio frequency to kill cancer.
Oh, wow. That makes sense, though.
He had, back in the day, he had and it was through a main hospital out in California. He was working there, if I remember correctly. That was the hospital. But he did some
Interesting.
research. He had like 12 patients or something like that, and he was successfully able to cure like 8 of them, and then the other 4 came back. He adjusted the frequency and cured them.
I
So,
believe, yes, I think that they keep a lot of this from us because the big pharma needs to make their money. So yes, that makes sense.
but
Hmm.
you can actually get online and buy a rife machine, and again,
Interesting.
I think the
I've
problem.
seen people be treated like on beds and things. I've seen some treatments that people have done that have to do with, I
Rife
think exactly
machines.
what you're talking about. Yeah, and
I think
magnets.
it's kind of like the way I understand it, and I could be wrong on this, but it could be, like the lady singing can match the vibration of the glass and break it. It's the
Yeah.
same. It's the same kind of principle here. They're trying to match the specific vibration that will kill those cancer cells, and they're getting really good at it. It's not
Hmm.
They're not just using Rife machines anymore. They're using other technology. So it is something that they are really getting into hard and heavy on a lot of stuff like that. So it's really interesting, but
Hmm.
um, it's just another way it does affect our health. So, but anyway, um, so I'm sorry, I'm kind of like talking about all this at once. I'm all over the place, ain't I?
But it's all connected. It's
It,
very interesting. It's all connected because I know a lot of people do talk about more insomnia, or they sleep more, or they have more anxiety, or all the different things that it does affect, and it also can affect your, like you said, the heart and the brain in so many ways.
yep, you're right. And as you're looking
And
at,
didn't our sun just have a pole shift too? Isn't that crazy? Am I right on that?
no, it
Did
hasn't.
our did the it hasn't flipped yet?
No,
Okay.
what happened that when what
The
she's talking
sun, the
about
sun pole,
yeah, the
yeah, the
sun,
poles on the sun.
that that is the sun cycle. When the sun does a magnetic polarity flip, that's your sun cycle. They call it a termination event.
Okay.
It's just like here, our poles are drawing closer to each other. You can actually, as I'm talking about this, we'll just show them the flares while we're doing this. That's a good way to do it. So anyway, this is SDO, guys. This is the 131 angstrom, and the bright spots will be the sunspots, and you're going to see a lot of like flashing light. Every time you see those stronger flashing lights, those are flares, and a lot of them are coming from this one down here. This is a hyperactive sunspot. We get these from time to time, but this thing is just won't stop. Um, and the reason why is because it's polarities. Like I said before, the cores have positive and negative, and when they start intermingling, it's just like an incandescent light bulb, and things start shorting out, and it just starts flaring constantly. And you can see. I mean, it's you don't often see this, is what I'm trying to say. But if you look at where the sunspots are located, you compare it to where the equator is. If you were to go back and probably watch one of my videos from 3 or 4 years ago, the sunspots were down here. And the reason why is exactly what Trinity was just saying, is the pole flip. The magnetic poles are moving closer to each other. So what happens is it draws those sunspots towards the equator. And that's how we can tell that we're progressing in the sun cycle. Because when a sunspot is made, it's made on that magnetic connection line. So when it does that flip, everything goes back to straight up and down like a bar magnet. Now, the sun's unique in this aspect, at least unique compared to the Earth. The equator section of the sun actually rotates faster than the polar regions because it's plasma. So it's actually moving faster. So what happens is, through time, the magnetic connection lines start doing this. And it just slowly does that, and then eventually you're looking at this. Okay, and then eventually they meet. So when they meet, that's the termination event. Everything flips again. So that's why the progression of the sunspots are really, we need to pay attention to the location, and that's why we see things like this. And that's also why things tend to seem to ramp up as they get closer because everything's getting crammed into a smaller spot here. Things are getting tighter. The magnetic lines are getting pulled more. And it's just, yeah, things are starting to cross over and cause all shorts. And because you can kind of think of it like a rubber band too. When it does, that's what, when you see a sunspot poke through the surface, it's one of those magnetic connection lines. It's got kind of like a kink in it and it pokes through. So that's, you know, that's kind of a quick explanation. And I probably went over everybody's head there a little bit. I didn't mean to, but.
No, it makes sense.
I try not to do that.
I think of like an EKG machine.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And you know, the human resonance kind of looks like that too. And it's amazing how everything, in my research, I believe that most things lead right back to frequency. It really truly does. Even us, it just, yeah. But anyway, so you got this is, again, this is this 131 angstrom, and that's just a part of the light spectrum that we can't physically see. They could have made this any color they wanted. You're looking at a specific gas, and I'm not sure what the 131 is actually looking at, but the 304 is ionized helium, and I'm going to show it to you guys here real quick. And the reason why I'm showing it to you is because we had some pretty massive, and I'll show it to you over on seeds too. We dodged a bullet again about 2 days ago. We had a huge, massive, dense CME, which was from a filament. And that's why I didn't mention filament earlier, because it kind of falls into the same category as CME, because it's plasma leaving the sun. While this is loading, I'll just take you over here and do this. How about that? I think it was on the 22nd. Yep, sure was. So this is one of the pretty dramatic ones. This is a dramatic looking kind of imaging, right? And so when you're looking at this, yeah, it's pretty dramatic, right? This is on SOHO, and this is a satellite sits out about 1 million miles closer to the sun, and it's always looking at the sun, and it takes 365 days to orbit right out in front of us with us. But it is closer to the sun. But it's like if you went outside and looked at the sun. That's the perspective.
It's fascinating.
Yeah,
I think it's so cool when you start seeing like images that look like people's faces and stuff coming out of this. It's crazy.
Yeah, I sent that one over to Adam. Gosh, it's been like 1.5 years ago now. The Bob Marley.
Wild.
It looked just like Bob
that was
Marley.
wild.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. It's funny. It is kind of nuts. You know, and once you get to understand how the coronagraphs and stuff work, yeah, it's kind of nuts. I'm gonna pause it right there because I want you guys to see this. You look over here on the red view. When you see those bright colors and they're all dense like that far away from the sun, that's powerful. That's a powerful shot. And what I'm saying is that thing went south of us, okay? And if it had blowed right off, we might not even have seen it like this, because we don't really get a side view of the sun anymore, because stereo A has been brought back our direction. It's actually hanging out with us. It's from our perspective right now. It's outlived its lifespan. So I think they're gonna send it back out. I hope they do. It was nice to have that side view, because you kind of had a backside view of the sun. And we don't have that now, but they do have a new technology that they're using. They're using seismic activity on the sun, and they've been able to use it to map out what the backside of the sun looks like. So they can see.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's really crazy, and it's been pretty accurate. I mean, obviously you can't go back there and see it. And I get this question too. People ask me, why can't they put a satellite behind the sun, just let it sit there and give us information? Well, the sun's big, okay? And let me just say this like that. And when it's trying to relay the message back to Earth, the sun's in the way. There's no way around it. You can't, in order to keep a satellite out there, especially in that kind of a position, you have what's called Lagrange points. And I'm not going to go into what all that is. but they like to put their satellites in the Lagrange points because it's easier to keep them in position. They don't have to use as much, like I don't want to say fuel, but they don't have to use as much of that kind of thing, any kind of energy to like keep them steered in the right spot.
I know. I'm just curious. The Lagrange points, does that line up with the ley lines
With the
on
what?
Earth? Ley lines?
Uh, I don't know. I really don't.
That's a dive. That's a deep dive
There
to
you
go
go.
into.
There
I'm
you
curious. Okay.
dive into it. Let's hear it. I want to go.
Yeah.
Go. I want to know
No, no,
about
I'm gonna have to do some research on it. I'm very curious. I'm very curious because a lot of people talk about the ley lines and the um, different things that happen.
Yeah.
Like Puerto Rico and Peru. I mean,
Yep.
um, all those things. So it's fascinating that you brought that up. I'm listening. I'm sorry.
No,
I just thought
no,
of that.
no, no.
I'm gonna make a note on
You,
that.
you jump in whenever you want to jump in. I'll shut my mouth for however long you
I'm
need
making a
to.
note.
but, but yeah, no. A Lagrange point. There's 5 main ones that they use, and they actually just put the James Webb Telescope is sitting in Lagrange point 2. That's actually behind us, so it's out there quite a ways, and
Yeah, they're gravitational forces, so it would make sense if they did line up.
yeah, it would make sense. That would make perfect sense. Some of the stuff,
Hmm.
well, it would make sense if it's trying to orbit with the Earth and trying to stay in, like if
Yeah.
you're, but if you're talking about trying to orbit the sun, I'm not sure how that all
No,
would work.
no, yeah, yeah,
But
exactly. But and
yeah,
well, when all these things happen, we get more earthquakes too. And they did have one in California today. I think a 4.4. I don't know if you saw that.
oh really? I didn't see that. That's
Hmm.
great. But yeah, you're 100% right. And there's so many things that are all tied together, and it's all tied together, I
Interesting.
think. And I would say, I would even take it a step further and say that the sun is the main driver of everything that happens on our planet. Um,
Yeah, I used to think it was the moon, but the sun is. It's very interesting, the equilibrium of everything.
yeah, but I do think everything has an effect.
Definitely.
And I just think that like when you're talking about a whole lot of different things, I think the sun is always there. And I think that they're starting to realize how much it does impact. There's something called solar forcing. There's a reason why things from the sun affect earthquakes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I usually try to bring it down so far because it's the only way I can understand it myself. Energy in means energy out somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
It has to. There's no way it can't. So you'll oftentimes hear people that report on earthquakes talk about, hey, we got pressure building. We got pressure building here, here, and here. They got what they call blot echoes. I'm throwing a bunch of terms I don't usually talk about because I am not the earthquake guy. I'll say that every day because I just don't have the knowledge. But I do know enough that it does affect what's going on. And just while we're talking about that, I was going to show you guys this anyway. Let's just show you
Well, that's
this.
why barometric pressure can cause pain in the body or headaches and such.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. This is the electric field model. And what this is the geoelectric field on the surface. And if you notice, and I've been pointing this out past few videos, you got NOAA, you got the Natural Resources of Canada, and who else is on here? USGS. Why would the Earthquake Agency have anything to do with space weather, right? Well,
Mm-hmm.
this is why. They're researching that. They know it does. They're just trying to figure
Yeah.
out exactly how much it affects everything. And they're trying to, and again, I'm not trying to say everything's perfect or anything like that, or if this is even whatever. But I do think that, I think it's pretty obvious when you can watch a solar flare happen and then a CME hits, and then shortly thereafter you get earthquakes. It's too coincidental for me. I don't think that, again, this is my opinion. I don't think that a CME can actually be the only cause of an earthquake. I think it's just
Right.
sometimes it's the straw that breaks the camel's back to go ahead and trigger it. That's just my opinion. But, now, we get space weather all the time, so it is just feeding energy in all the time. But as far as like just an initial blast of something, this one thing, if you had to point to it, I don't think we can do that. I think there's so many things at play when we're talking about earthquakes. And Adam talks about Adam Morphegal. If you guys don't know who he is, yeah, you probably do. I'm sure you do if you're in my chat. But he talks about the Cascadia subduction zone. That is a very, very dangerous thing, and I oftentimes say this: it's not a matter of if; it is a matter of when, guys. It truly is. Will we see it in our lifetime? I don't know. I don't think anybody can really say 100% anything. You can theorize and educate, guess this, that, and the other. And I do that sometimes. And I think we all do, but I think it's those of us out here that are doing channels have a responsibility to tell you guys when it is our opinion and it isn't something that's 100% fact. There's not, and why I say that, there's nothing wrong with us sharing our opinion. It doesn't necessarily mean we're going to be correct. Matter of fact, I have to say this. I learn more when I'm wrong than when I'm right. And I can't handle people that can't accept when they're wrong. I don't get it.
Well, it's pretty ignorant if you can't, honestly.
Yeah. I forgot
This map is very interesting. What is going on in this map? I don't remember looking at this map before.
This is the geoelectric field map, and they actually just added Canada to this.
This is so cool.
This is the electric field at the surface. So,
wow.
And what you'll notice is and something I've noticed, I'm sure everybody else that does space weather stuff will tell you that when geomagnetism is all over the place, guess what else is? The geoelectric field's all over the place too. They both react at the same time. So that's directly tying space weather to this. So we're always getting space weather, and I want to really hammer that home, because the only time we wouldn't get space weather is if the sun wasn't there, and then we would have a really bad day.
That's for sure.
I say it all the time, and you were talking about cosmic rays earlier, weren't you?
Yeah, the neutrinos, the deep underground neutrino experiment goes from Chicago to South Dakota. In fact, it's in trouble right now. It didn't get a very good rating on its grade, and so I don't know if the Department of Energy is going to stay up with it with Fermilab, or if somebody else is going to come in, which is even creepier. But yeah, the neutrinos, that's basically, they're coming through us all the time, and it's fascinating because Ice Cube Observatory in the South Pole, they measure it there. They have one in Japan. And then they're between South Dakota and Chicago. And then, of course, Geneva, Switzerland. All of that's all connected with CERN. But what's fascinating is that the Super K and all these places that do have these, it makes you wonder about what's going on in human behaviors too, more crime, different behavior things going on, how it's affecting people in these areas. The effects of it all and what's really going on underneath our feet is extremely fascinating.
Yeah.
And they call it like plasma entities as well. So they don't know enough about the sun, and they're trying to figure it out.
Yep, I agree, 100%. And let me I'll stop and say this right now. You guys, that's the kind of information you're going to get over on her channel. She really does a good job and dives in deep. Okay, I'm not kidding. I don't know that I have the patience like she does. I really don't.
I'm just really curious.
It truly is. It's something to watch somebody really. And here's the thing too, you can always tell when somebody has a passion for what they're doing, and you do, and it comes through in what you do. And I think that, I just think it's awesome. And
so what's this graph? Thank you so much. Yeah, what's this graph?
This is the magnetosphere, and I'm showing it to you because this is probably the quickest way to show what kind of or when we're actually getting space weather. This is
this is what affects electronics.
Kinda.
Kinda. Okay.
Well, the magnetosphere is what blocks everything.
Right. So and the pilots. Have you heard about what's going on with now? The planes are going crazy. A lot of interesting things with the airplanes, but they have to really watch the pilots right now. So I'll let you keep going. But it's interesting.
I haven't heard that. But that's I don't know if I'd
Hmm.
want to be on a plane if you got to watch the pilot,
Hmm.
but
Yeah, they're really having to watch them because of the radiation up there and everything, and they're having to really pay attention to their hearts and stuff. And
I gotcha.
people are having more interesting things. They call them souls on planes, but tying it back into human behavior and how this all affects us, it is so extremely interesting. But I'm going to keep listening.
Well, I want to touch on that because I do talk about what you just spoke about with the planes and stuff. Well, we get
Hmm.
in solar minimum, which we're not at right now, but we do have low solar uh, energy sometimes, even during solar maximum. So why I'm saying that is when we have like 3 consecutive days, and what I'll do is just show you what I'm saying here. I will, because it's easier just to. When you have 3 consecutive days of geomagnetic activity, like if it's on the basement floor, like there's just like below 1 on the KP, and the KP is just the number that they've chosen to use, or an index that they've chosen to use to measure geomagnetic activity. A KP of 5 directly relates to a G1 storm. So, I mean, it's really like a thunderstorm warning system kind of thing. But when we get 3 consecutive days, or even less, probably more like 48 hours, we have to have a certain amount of geomagnetic activity. If we don't, it puts enough energy into our magnetic field. It helps us block cosmic rays, and that's why I say we have to have a balance with the sun, because no geomagnetic activity is just as bad as too much. And why I say that is that they will put out warnings for people that are flying, like when there's cosmic ray warnings and things like that, especially high latitude pilots that are flying closer to the poles.
Hmm.
We don't The stuff comes in easier there. So pregnant women that are flying, they will tell these people, hey, this is what's going on. Pilots can only have a certain amount of hours flying in that condition per year, and they will not let them pilots pilot a plane during those kinds of things anymore until enough time has passed. So these things do affect people, and directly. So when you get hit with cosmic rays and stuff, and like I said, I know you know this, but things split off, and it can it can make you sick. Is what I'm trying to say. It's radiation, and
Hmm.
it's so we have to have some of that geomagnetism to block that. The sun's actually helping us out with that, and I said all that just to basically say that. But um, so if we go back
Well,
here, go ahead.
it ties into our electric universe and like EEGs. And when it gets am I right on different KP indexes or um, I can't think of the terms right now, but people who actually have seizures and stuff have to pay attention to this, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's something that we have to. Yeah, exactly. And again, cardiac patients especially, and things like that, we have to pay. It directly affects our health, and so when we get these things, that's why I talk about it. It's not to mention that you guys can hear me when I talk. It excites me sometimes. I just think it's really cool. But
It is exciting.
but but to the magnetosphere here, if you guys see this little bow here, it's called the bow shock. And this may not be the exact position of it because you have to understand exactly how this model works to really get a good idea of that. But that's roughly where it's at. And what the bow shock is just like a boat going through the water. That's the point where the solar wind hits our magnetic field. That's the first point of contact. Okay, so when that hits, it tends to like. We also got to think this is 2 dimensional and we're 3 dimensional. So it makes it a little difficult in our minds to understand what we're looking at with this visual, because we're really Tamitha Scove. If you guys don't know who she is, you guys should go check her channel out. She's a PhD. It's free college if you go over there. But anyway, she actually will bring out a slinky and wrap it around a ball. That's more that's more representative of what's actually going on than this.
Yeah,
It's
it's like a toroidal field. Like if you think
Yeah.
about an apple and the waves going around an apple, it's like the toroidal field's a lot like the heart too.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly. So anyway, the sun's off to the left on this model, guys, and you're going to see. And we got lucky enough that we're actually starting to get some space weather as we probably started this live stream, Trinity.
Yeah,
Because you
that's
see how
interesting.
nothing's happening, but watch. See that? I'm not sure if you can see that or not. You probably get a delay if you're watching YouTube.
Yeah, delay. Yeah, I'm listening. I'm watching.
Okay. Yeah.
And what do you think about? Let's be careful. I don't get in trouble if I say anything wrong on the channel, but the magnetosphere being affected by another incoming massive magnetosphere, which would mean the that planet.
Yeah.
People might think,
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be very careful on that. But it's interesting hearing people talk about that, and yeah, I'm just curious because do you think it's another magnetosphere pushing in on us,
I don't.
What do you think?
I don't know. I guess my thing is I don't know how we could miss it.
Well, it's supposed to be massive, so
right.
big that we might not. It's so big that we probably wouldn't even know it. Like it would take up the whole sky, right?
That's what.
So it'd be just by color.
That's kind of and some people
by color.
I don't. And again, I don't think. And again, I don't. It's just my opinions, right? I mean, I can't. I don't know how to do.
Yeah, we don't know. We really don't know.
I really just.
Because I mean, how big did they say it is? I can't remember how massive it is.
Well, some people tell you go out and look at a part of the sky in the night, and it's you can't. There's no stars there, right? Well, I tested that. I went out with my telescope, and guess what? There's stars there.
Interesting. Okay.
You can't see it with your eyes. If you put a telescope on the ground in your backyard, you can disprove that right away. It's because you just can't see the light because it's out too far. Your eyes can't see it. So what I'm saying is you get a little deeper look into space. There's nothing there because if there was something there, you wouldn't be able to see anything. It would be in between you and the stars. So that's kind of what I'm saying. And that's just to that one specific part of the sky that somebody said, hey, you go look over here, everything's going to be blocked. Well, yeah, you go out and look, and it does look dark right there. Well, I'm in the city first off, so we got light pollution. So I took my daughter with me, and we went out to the country, out in one of the out in the country. I'm not gonna say where. I was getting ready to say that, but I'm not going to. Anyway, we went out there in the middle of the night. It was her second day of summer break, and I took the telescope out there, and we were looking. And I said, hey, see that dark spot over there? Well, first off, I will say this. The further out I got, the less light that it was polluting, that area of the sky started getting smaller because I started seeing stars already. So I put a telescope out there, and man, there were a bunch of stars right there. You just couldn't, my eyes just couldn't, you can't see it unless you put a telescope out there, right? But I do, I do think, hey, Jeff, thank you, buddy. I appreciate you. This is for Trinity's smart mind, pretty smile, pretty voice. There you go, girl.
That's very sweet. Thank you, Jeff.
Yep. Let's see here. I will answer some of the comments here. I wonder, since all the planets' magnetic poles flip, if the sun has them too and will flip. It's not a dumb question, Shastina. We actually talked about that just a little while ago. It's not a dumb question at all. I appreciate the question because that when the sun does do a magnetic pole flip roughly every 11 years. And I talk about this because here on Earth, a magnetic pole flip is normal. It's a cycle that we're in. It's going to happen. And I tell people all the time that since recorded history, nobody has been here when that happened. So we got really good ideas of what could happen. Because I do think it would be really bad, to be honest with you. When that does go do its thing. We all know that magnetic north is wandering, and so is magnetic south. Like I said earlier, the north and south pole, they're coming closer to each other. Matter of fact, they've split. We have like 4 of them now. 4 poles. We basically got 2. I'm not going to get into all that. That gets really complicated. And as time progresses, it's probably going to split even more. And it's going to become like a really chaotic magnetic field. And when that happens, it's going to be really hard, especially for like this tool right here that I'm showing you. And before I go any further, I do want to show you guys this because I have to say that that's a rather impressive hit. I wasn't expecting to see that, to be honest with you. That is a nice hard hit from the sun, guys. I don't know. It's probably, we were expecting some CMEs to be coming in. They could be here. This is density as you're looking at this, guys. Yeah. The light color would be low density, and the darker colors is the dark blue would be high density. Now, you guys see what's happening right there? I know you can't see it right away, Trinity. I'm sorry. But
I'm listening. I'm watching.
okay. But you'll see it hit, and it compresses our magnetic field immediately. You can see it. And then our magnetic field fights back, and we'll get what's called rapid expansion. You see that? And as it expands out, this is why, like, if I was to say like 2 or 3 smaller X flares could really give us problems, this is why. And the reason why is because it's bouncing around everywhere. We don't have enough time for it to get back out and really help block. So a lot of times what you'll see is this will get inside the satellite lines. Stuff like this has destroyed satellites. We've had SpaceX lost like, it was like 40 satellites or something. It was a bunch during a launch that they had. And this is why I say our magnetic field is continually weakening, because they've launched in that condition before a lot, and nothing had ever happened. But about a year ago, they launched, and during a G1 storm, a very low level geomagnetic storm, and they lost a lot of their satellites because it added extra drag, and they couldn't keep them in, get them into the right orbit. So basically it caused the satellites to slow down, and they couldn't get them into where they needed to be. So they lost a lot of satellites. But what was kind of crazy is a week later, we had another G1 storm, and another company had launched some stuff and was sending satellites out, and they lost some too. So I'm pointing that out because these launches are in Florida, and that matters because our magnetic field is probably at its strongest point would be right around the equator. You know, if you were to look at it like a magnetic strength map, they're out there if you wanted to look at them. But as you get closer to the poles, it gets weaker and weaker and weaker. But I say that because a G1 storm really shouldn't be doing that. Especially when you got history of them launching in that condition. Okay, so that there is an issue there. I don't know, you know, if it was just a one-off, I might be able just to let it go, but it wasn't. It was 2 different companies lost satellites within a week of each other during geomagnetic storms that should not have affected things like that, and it did. So what's that telling me? It's telling me that our magnetic field is weakening, and we know this, and it's letting things in easier. That's just my opinion. But sorry, kind of went off on a rant there.
No, it's interesting. Good. I'm thinking about the lightning effects too by this, and the sprites and the elves and the, you know, the different types of lightning.
Like
And
Aurora and
I'm
stuff.
since yeah, exactly. And I remember seeing like a cloud, and I think other people have seen this too. It didn't rain, but this cloud just had lightning nonstop in it, and it was the weirdest thing, but didn't have sound. Have you seen that?
Yeah, it's really interesting because, and it really kind of, even this model here actually will help explain that. We will get
Yeah. So when you talked about it, taking out things, I was thinking about how many things we don't see with our eyes, or how distant, you know, things we do get to see some things once in a while, like sprites, but
right.
how much is going on up there that we don't get to see that does affect everything. It's very interesting.
It's extremely interesting, and that's, you know, when you're talking about sprites and Steve, there's a phenomenon called Steve. You got stratospheric clouds that they look like aurora, but they're clouds, and that only happens in like the coldest air you can possibly imagine. And we've been seeing quite a bit of them. There's something called noctilucent clouds too. That's meteor dust that hangs around our poles, and it gets moisture around it, and then it freezes, and they look like blue metallic like clouds. And we only get them, you actually get them in the summertime of whatever hemisphere you're in. And the reason
And see,
why,
yeah. Mhm.
well, go ahead. Go ahead. Oh,
Oh, I'm just thinking that, but well, when they, I don't want to say this too many times on your channel because they don't like us to say this word, but it's CERN,
okay.
over in Geneva, Switzerland.
Hmm.
Well, when they started it back up, and then what they were doing with the um, deep underground neutrino experiment between South Dakota and Chicago, when all that, because it's magnets, it's the largest magnets they can have that they use, and people don't understand what we're talking about. It has to also do with the technology. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, we got you.
Oh, okay, I lost on my hearing. Okay, one of my earbuds just went out. You can hear me okay?
Yeah, yeah, we got you.
Okay, okay. But the skies turn green, and that's where I'm going with this. Is that how interesting it is because they do use the largest magnets, and this is the magnetosphere, and how this graph is so interesting, and what's going on underneath our feet, and what they're doing with those devices, how that affects everything.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense too because our magnetic field is generated from our core, and
Hmm.
so if you're doing stuff underneath there and stuff is getting not doing what it's supposed to, it definitely
Because
can.
they just started it back up, and they've hit some records on,
Yeah,
yeah, their TEV volts. Hmm.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And that's yeah, it's definitely it's very it's a great point. I mean, I I just stuff like that, like that particular machine we're talking about.
Hmm.
Man, you know,
Creepy.
it's
It's
creepy,
actually
and
creepy.
here's something else. It's not the only
Honestly.
one.
No, it's not. Oh no. In New York, there's so many people don't realize how many there are.
Yeah,
That's why I always bring attention to the thermal labs and things. And yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
it's crazy.
Hudson Bay was bubbling because there's a LHC there.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's interesting.
it's really
So when you
interesting.
talked about the color, I don't mean to interrupt what you're talking about, but when you're talking about the different colors of the sky and how it affected the colors, it made me think of when the skies turned green and how that affected. But I want to keep listening to what you're doing on these graphs.
No, it's okay. No, you're my guest here. You know what we're doing here. You got every right to talk as I do. So you talk about what you need to talk about. That's what we're doing.
I'm gonna keep going. It's
Okay,
really fascinating.
okay,
Hmm.
okay. But I just want to look at this is the Discover graph, guys. I show you guys this all the time. This is the BZ. That's basically the magnetic polarity of our magnetic field. It's the position of which it's in. And when it's at -6, that's the red line here, by the way. If it's at -6, that's when stuff really does start to come in. I've seen it -30, -40. So when it's in that position, it's even more. You can kind of think of it, and again, it's all magnetics, guys. So if this BZ is in a positive orientation, like right here, even though, and let me show you this because it matters, even though you're seeing this right here, this looks kind of crazy, right? This, because we have no space weather at all. You can see the magnetic pressure. No pressure at all, no pressure at all, and then boom, you get that, and then you see all that happening. You're thinking, oh my God, what's going on, right? Well, if our BZ is in a positive orientation or hanging around neutral, our magnetic field can deflect stuff really, 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 really good. And this is oftentimes the reason why when we get hit with bigger CMEs, we don't see a geomagnetic storm or a big geomagnetic storm with it. It doesn't mean we didn't get hit. But the bigger ones, like if we were going to be talking like a grid down type of scenario, those CMEs, it's probably not going to matter what this BZ is doing at all. It's just going to be so powerful, it'll overcome it. That's just what happens. But for like a G4 or a G5 storm, the difference between a G3 and a G5 can be this BZ. So what I'm saying is if it's in a positive position, we see the G3. If it's in the negative position, we'll see the G5. And the G5, when you're talking like a G5 storm, you're talking transformers blowing. People always go back to Carrington event, and rightfully so. I mean, I get it, because I do too. It's a really good historic data point. We can go back and talk about that event. But there's so many other events that happened. We had the 89 power outage in Canada. 2003, we had a huge issue. I mean, there's so many, I'm just not even going to sit here and try to name them. But there has been other times when big parts of our grid went down. Not necessarily where we're at, but worldwide is what I'm talking about. And it directly related to a geomagnetic storm. So that's, when we're talking about grid down, I have to stress that, with our magnetic field weakening, it isn't going to take something as big as what it could have. But it's still going to take something big at this point, something that we haven't seen. And that's obviously because we're having this conversation. Because if it was to hit us, and I also want to say, given that, if something like that is coming at us, most likely it's going to be coming so fast, it's going to take less than 12 hours to get here, when typically a CME can take 3 to 5 days. So there's not going to be a whole lot of time for anybody to jump on the internet and try to tell everybody about it. So this is why I try to do what I do, because I want people to have at least the base knowledge. And I say, be aware, don't be scared. We can't be scared of anything we can't control. We shouldn't fear it. We should be aware of it, because when we're scared, we make really bad decisions. So if you're aware of it, it gets rid of that little, what I call the shock scare part. If you remember back in your life when something scared you the most, what happened? Somebody probably jumped out somewhere and you didn't think something was getting ready to happen, and it happened. Scared the crap out of you. But if you knew they were there, they could still scare you a little bit, but it wasn't as bad. So I'm just saying, when you're aware and not scared, you make knee-jerk reactions don't happen. You make good, educated decisions, and, that's what's best for you and your family. But anyway, let me move on. Ranting here again. You gotta stop me, Trinity.
I love listening. It's all good.
So this is Soho, and I want to show this. That right there, this one here on the bottom, is getting ready to fire off. This is back on the 22nd. If that one would have hit us directly, I do think that would probably be at least a G4 storm. We dodged one back in 2017, I think. If that CME had hit us, if that CME had fired off the sun 12 to 24 hours before it did, we might not be having this conversation. It was that big. Things fire off the backside of the sun. We've had, matter of fact, about 8, 9 months ago, we had a big CME fire off the backside of the sun, and we still got protons from it over here. So that right there should tell you, number one. Number two, it also helps people understand that that's magnetics in works there. Okay, it's catching onto those magnetic field lines and it's getting sucked around. There's something called the Enlil spiral that I'm not going to get into, but it has something to do with that. If we ever have a CME that fires off to the right, there's more of a chance of us catching some protons from that, just because of the motion of everything. If it fires off over here to the left, typically it'll miss. But over here, if it fires off, we got a better chance of catching like some glancing blow or even radiation storms. And that's just an increase in protons. But it's getting kind of late, isn't it? How long have we been on here? I don't even know.
An hour? I think an hour. I'm not sure.
How long have we been here? About an hour ago. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna probably.
But I look forward to having you on my show too, or we can do this again.
I will.
I'm so grateful to be here.
Definitely do it again.
It's really been fun.
Well, guys, let me just do this before we end. I can't tell you how much I respect Trinity. She's such a kind person. I can't tell you how many times that I have to reschedule this. She never once got mad at me. I bet I rescheduled with her like 12 times. I'm not even kidding. Now,
my life is just as crazy, so I completely get it. Family's always first.
Yeah, and that is what happens with me. My family there's always something going on with me. But this is her channel.
Me too. Me too.
If I could get one of the mods to post her channel there in the live chat, I would appreciate it. Most of you guys, if you go to my featured channel section, she's in there. I think might even, I think I got you and a few others in the description box. I'm trying to take the channels out of my description box and move it over to the featured section. That way there's a place for that, and I try to put credit for like, I don't know, the models I show you. I always put like Space Weather News or NOAA. I always give them credit in my description box because it's just the right thing to do. But anyway, it's all fair use, and any of those, like the stuff I show you guys, that's all public information. That stuff that I show you, our tax dollars paid for. That's why we even got access to it. So just so you know, we wouldn't have access to it if it wasn't for that. I guarantee it. But guys, please go check out Trinity. Yeah, you need to. If you don't, I don't know what to say. I just don't even know. But so Trinity, thank you for
That's extremely kind of you. Thank you. Thank you everybody for being here tonight and listening to me. It's been quite a journey. I'm learning with my ADHD not to interrupt. So I tried really hard tonight not to interrupt and hold on to the thoughts that I wanted to share. And just thank you so very much. I'm very humbled to be on the show. So thank you for having me, Mark.
well,
Wages World.
we're
Blue Kool-Aid.
yeah, we're gonna do that. We're gonna do this a lot. So hopefully we're probably gonna start off with once or twice a month. I'm gonna try to look at get more guests and stuff on. And I know that we're trying to get some panel together too. I think me and Trinity's talked about that.
Oh, that'd be so fun. And everybody, please share. That's what's free. You can do that free, and it really helps so much. Is when you share out, like when Wages World's going live. If you could just share it out to X or to a friend or whatever platform you like, that's free and it helps out so very much. And then hitting that thumbs up and commenting afterwards, that helps. That's absolutely free. But also, if you can tell, Wages World, thank goodness he's monetized again, and so hopefully he'll be getting that membership going. And you need to get your PayPal link back in.
Yeah, guys, I've had my channel Trinity for 5 years, and I just
You work so hard.
Yeah, I know. I just now monetized, and I did it for one reason, and that's so I can get memberships fired up, because I do think
Yes.
it's such an intimate thing that everybody can come together and do members only streams. But I do want to say this too: you do not have to be a member. I will always give the same content that I give now.
And people gift out memberships too, which is awesome. Yes. When people can, so that they will do that as well.
Did you see the new? And I'm gonna say this on air for you because I don't think a whole lot of creators know this yet. But YouTube is now allowing you to gift, was it one a month to somebody?
Oh really? Oh no, I didn't see that.
Yep.
That's awesome.
You can't choose who it is, guys.
So, oh no, that's even better yet. That should be that way.
Yeah. So whoever's most active in the chat, that's who the gift membership goes to. That's how YouTube does it. So anyway, I'll just leave it at that. But anyway, girl, love you. Thank you for coming on, and I'm going to get over there, guys. Every one of you guys, get over to her channel, subscribe. You know, you're going to see more of her. She's going to get big here, I guarantee it. She's on her way already. Thank you to Adam and Dex and anybody else that's ever helped me through the years. They've helped Trinity and Rip and everybody. I could sit here all day long. Leah.
Yeah, I know, exactly. That's why I wanted to list off everybody, but I didn't want to leave anybody out. So I need to have a list or something so I can look at, because I don't want to leave anyone out. But yes, thank you to everybody who has helped us.
And that's why I put I'm working on my featured channel section on my so you can just go.
I need to do that too.
Yeah, it just it cleans everything up. I don't know why I haven't done it before.
Well, we're so glad when you're back and doing I love when you have your updates, and I'm going to be watching to see what happens with our son with all these things coming in. So thank you for being back and coming live when you can for us, because we love hearing all that you have to share and do with us.
Thank you. And when I say I think you're doing a great job and you're probably one of the best deep divers, I'm not just saying that. I really do think that. It's not smoke. It's really the truth. So guys, please get over, and especially if you guys like, I guess, what would you call it? Controversial subjects, Trinity? Is that...
Yeah, just looking at everything as if you were a child again before you went to school and were told what to think. I like to have us go back to a childlike curiosity and explore everything just with fresh eyes, and just see things and explore things that we've never even looked at or didn't think twice about. And just to be that young at heart again, and also be there for one another. More importantly, more than that, always that.
Well, that's a true scientist, by the way. You always got to question what you think you know, and that
Exactly.
a lot of scientists forget that. So, but anyway, we're gonna go ahead and get on off here. All right, guys.
Okay.
God bless. Yahusha saves, and yeah, you can drink this Kool-Aid.